Hey guys, Prowl 1701 here, and today we are going to be reviewing my second Big Finish story that I've heard, Spare Parts, the legendary Spare Parts. And I'm going to start off by being bluntly honest. I think it sucks. I don't just think that it's uninteresting, I don't think it's bad, I think it sucks. I didn't like it. It just doesn't come together for me. It's really hard for me to put this into words. I've had a lot of trouble trying to do this review. It's actually been 2 or 3 weeks since I finished listening to it. And it took me months to get all the way through it. Months. I bought it probably back in September or October. And I didn't finish it until February. It never engaged me. Which is crazy because I love the idea of an origin of the Cybermen. Like I love the World Enough and Time two-parter. And I love the Mondasian Cybermen, especially their voices. So I figured I would like this story, especially with its reputation. It's always been one of the Big Finish stories I wanted to see the most. I had kind of a top 4, which was Jubilee, which was the first story I saw. I own a copy of Jubilee, and I love it. Spare Parts, The Last Adventure, which I'm still looking forward to owning and seeing, and the Out of Time Part 1 with Tom Baker and David Tennant. I really want to hear that one. I haven't heard that one yet. So I figured I would really like this story, but I don't know. It does not engage me. Even when I was listening to it, I wasn't connecting with it. You know, and it would be like I'd listen to 2 or 3 segments and I would take a break. And I remember I got through all of like episode 2 pretty quick, and a good part of episode 3 pretty quick. But like episode 1 to 2 took a while, and finishing episode 4 took forever. It took me a long time. Just the Mondasian Cyberman voice I love. I think it's the best voice from the 60s, the original 10th Planet voice. Sorry about man. I love that voice, but it feels overused in this story, which again, being an audio-only story, you have to do that, because you have to have some way to create the tension and the fear, because there's no visuals, which for me might be the problem. Maybe it's the fact there's no visuals that's driving me nuts. And I can tell you, if this was the first Big Finish story I'd listen to, I think I'd be put off Big Finish completely. But I love Jubilee. Like, I was able to picture Jubilee in my head as I was listening to it. I loved it. I have a very vivid imagination. But for some reason, it wasn't connecting with this one. And hearing those Cyberman voices so often, they started to grate on my nerves. That voice that I liked started to annoy me. Literally, this story made me like the Mondasian Cybermen less, because that voice started grating. And then some of the other voices, like the cyber collective, the 20 minds that are all merged, half the time I can't tell what the fuck it's saying. Like, it's talking and I'm like, That got really annoying. Now, I like some of Davison's stuff, like when he realizes where they are and he just wants to get the hell out of there. I like that Davison wants to leave. He knows they don't need to be there. He's ready to go. I like that. I am all in favor of that. Also, where's Tegan? I cannot figure out where Tegan is here. Because this is obviously after Earthshock, but no Tegan. I mean, is it set between Time Flight and Arc of Infinity when Tegan's gone, I'm guessing, maybe? Because it's just him and Nissa, and I can't think of too many times when it's just him and Nissa, unless it's between Time Flight and Arc of Infinity. I don't know. Sarah Sutton's good as Nissa in it. I like Nissa as a character. It's interesting seeing what's going on with the family, the other family we meet, with the sister, the brother, and the dad, and how the dad's only been partially converted with his chest thing, and how he hunts cybermats. That's pretty cool. I like the bit where the cybermats are trying to get in and cover the TARDIS and get into the TARDIS. That was pretty neat. When the one cybermat does get into the TARDIS console, that was pretty cool. I like cybermats. So I enjoyed that. But seeing what happens to the sister, which I saw coming because she's coughing, she's sick, I kind of see what it's getting to, and knowing what I know about the Cybermen, the tragedy of it, seeing her not fully converted is interesting because she's confused, kind of in pain, scared of what she's become, not knowing what her future is. Here's the interesting thing about the story. I can't remember what happens to the sister. I don't remember if she dies, if they take her back, because there's a gap between when I listen to Part 3 and Part 4, and in Part 4 she's just not really there. I can't remember what happened to the... Again, this is the problem with this story. It's forgettable for me. I never engaged with it. Like, I can't remember what happened to the sister. I remember her being converted, going back to her family, them feeling bad about what was done to her, and I remember her making that noise because she couldn't really cry, but she's in anguish. But I don't remember if she died, if they took her and finished her. I don't remember. I like the one guy the doctor meets who's kind of the butcher. He deals with the organs. He's kind of a scumbag, but I kind of like him because there are times when he's a scumbag. There's times when he's kind of helping out and doing the right thing. So when he ended up getting converted, part of me's like, yeah, and part of me's like, I can't quite figure out if the doctor in this doctor, the main female doctor who the cyber programs her baby, if she's good or bad, because at first she kind of realizes how bad things are getting, and she kind of wants to help the doctor, and then in another part, she's like totally against helping. I don't want to do anything. I give up. I just, It's like her character just bounces all over the place. I can't figure out what's going on with her, because it seems like I said, I was watching it in such spread out parts over months. It was really hard to keep a coherent feel for what was going on. I never engaged with this story. And then, of course, the end when the doctor thinks they've saved everything and he leaves, and then everybody's rebuilding the city, just for the doctor to find out that one Cyberman survived. He's like, we begin again, which, of course, probably is what leads to where we run into them at 10th Planet. And I feel bad because, you know, what happened to the rest of the humans who were surviving in the city? How much longer did they last? Did the dad and the son, did they end up getting converted? Was it years later? It ends on a kind of sad note because it probably didn't end well for the few surviving people who were there in the city. I did like when that one kind of, what, Constance was her name, the one lady who seemed to think she was more than she was, when she was the one who signaled out the people who were sick. When she got converted, I thought that was funny, kind of a dose of her own medicine. That, not funny, but I very much felt like she deserved it. I kind of like when she got it. But yeah, I don't know. I had a lot of problems visualizing this story in my head. I'm usually not too big on like audiobooks. I prefer to have an actual book. I like to actually read a novel. It's easier for me to picture something visually when I'm physically reading it than when I'm listening to it. Like, say, The Wheel of Time. I really like the Wheel of Time series. The book series. I refuse to watch the Amazon series because, when I read the books, it's easy for me to picture what the characters look like, and the show is never going to live up to the movie in my head, as one of my subscribers calls it. And when I can do that easily with books, but for audio novels, I have a lot more trouble doing that for some reason. Maybe it's because I didn't really do a lot of audio novels as a kid, whereas I've been reading since I was very little. But now Jubilee, I was able to do that. I was able to picture what was going on in Jubilee very easily, and I very much enjoyed Jubilee. It's a great story. This one, I was having problems with it. The incidental music was nice. It added atmosphere and tension, but this story would just not come together properly to form a coherent picture in my head for whatever reason. It's one of the most disappointing Doctor Who stories I've ever seen. Just because its reputation is so high up there, and it just utterly fails to live up to that for me. I didn't like Spare Parts. And maybe if I physically owned it, because I bought it digitally because they had a sale on for like a lot of the older stories were only like $3 a piece. And I'm like, hey, Spare Parts for $3? Yeah. I don't know, but Doctor Who's one of those things I like to physically own it. Like, I physically own a copy of Jubilee. And, you know, I physically own a lot of Doctor Who stuff. I like having my Doctor Who memorabilia physically. Since I have it digitally, I had to listen to it on my computer instead of my TV like I would have liked. Maybe if I had owned a physical copy of Spare Parts, it might have helped more, possibly. I don't know. But just, maybe it's because since I own it digitally, I don't feel like I really own it. I don't know. I buy a lot of my games digitally these days, and even some of my movies digitally these days. I don't know why that would be an issue, but maybe it is just because it's Doctor Who. And I like having my physical media. But yeah, Spare Parts. Like I said, I can't even dive in more on the details because it's all kind of flown out of my head. It's so forgettable because it was such a long period of time between when I started watching it and when I finished, and it's been 2 or 3 weeks at least 3 weeks since I finished it. So it's all kind of faded, and since I didn't really like it, my memory's always already going delete, delete, delete. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Spare Parts. I did not like it. I think it sucks. I think it's pretty bad. A few redeeming things, mostly pretty bad. I did like that Davison just wanted to get out of there immediately and not deal with it. I like that. So yeah, that's my thoughts on spare parts. Utterly disappointing. Utterly disappointing. So what did you think of spare parts? Comment down below and let me know. Other things to do, click the like button and the subscribe button. Click the bell for notifications so you never miss out on another video. I also have a P.O. box if there's any Big Finish stories you would like to send me to listen to, because I would like to hear more of them. Some of the ones I'm most interested in is The Last Adventure, The Out of Time Part 1 with the 4th Doctor and the 10th Doctor. Well, Tom Baker's my favorite Doctor, and I like Tennant. Not as much as I used to, but the idea of those two together sounds really good. And then I'd like to get some 8th Doctor stuff. I like Chimes of Midnight. Everybody tells me Chimes of Midnight is great, so I'd like to hear that at some point. So if there's anything Doctor Who related or Big Finish Doctor Who related, or just Doctor Who related in general you'd like to send me, my P.O. box is down in the description below. I want to give a special shout out to 2 of my top tier patrons, the 5th Doctor and Stephen Crane. I appreciate their continued support, as I do the support of all of my patrons. I also have an Amazon wish list down there as well, if anyone wants to check that out. Most importantly though, thank you for watching.